Bible truth set you free.
If you have a question, God's Word, the Bible, will reveal the truth. Presented by Lori Dharma.
Global peace. You asked. Why there is no peace in the world? What is world peace? When there is no longer any animosity or violence, there is friendship and harmony within society. In social contexts, peace is typically understood to imply the absence of conflict, like war, and the absence of fear of violence among individuals or groups. Today, is there any prospect for peace in our world? Global leaders talk confidently about world peace. On the other hand, nations are getting ready with weapons of mass destruction. History demonstrates that any hope for unity has long been thwarted by rivalry and prejudice. Instead of putting out the fires of conflict, religions frequently incite them. What does the history reveals? World War I, also known as the First World War, was a global conflict fought between two coalitions, the Allied powers and the Central Powers. Fighting took place throughout Europe, the Middle East, Africa, the Pacific, and parts of Asia. One of the deadliest wars in history, it resulted in an estimated 9 million soldiers dead and 23 million wounded, plus another 5 million civilian deaths from various causes. Millions more died as a result of genocide, and the war was a major factor in the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic. Year 1919, to prevent a future world war, the League of Nations was created. The principal objectives of the organization were to avert armed conflict by means of collective security, disarmament of the armed forces and navy, and the peaceful settlement of international disputes through arbitration and negotiations. Then came the World War II, was a worldwide conflict that raged from 1939 to 1945. The international order that governed the world for the remainder of the 20th century and into the present was established by World War II, which also altered the political and social landscape of the globe. Demise of League of Nations. The onset of the Second World War in 1939 showed that the League had failed. The failure of the League to achieve its main goal was evident with the outbreak of the Second World War in 1939. Until its abolition, it was essentially dormant. After the League's 26 years of existence, the United Nations, UN, took over as its successor in 1946. The United Nations was founded in order to promote world peace. The United Nations, UN, is an intergovernmental organization with the declared goals of fostering goodwill among states, promoting international cooperation, and acting as a focal point for coordinating international policy. The largest international organization in the world is this one. The United Nations has its headquarters in New York City. The Bible prophecy of the demise of League of Nations and rise of United Nations was fulfilled just as prophesied in Revelation chapter 17.
The wild beast that you saw was, but is not, and yet is about to ascend out of the abyss, and it is to go off into destruction. And the inhabitants of the earth, those whose names have not been written in the scroll of life from the founding of the world, will be amazed when they see how the wild beast was, but is not, and yet will be present. Revelation 17:8.
The UN has been criticized for being ineffectual, biased, and corrupt. To identify inefficiencies within the UN system, the General Assembly established the Joint Inspection Unit in 1976. For monitoring deficiency, the General Assembly founded the Office of Internal Oversight Services in 1994. The UN's incompetence to bring about peace and intercept conflict. The UN has led multiple peacekeeping missions with success, and while fostering security and peace is a key component of its mandate, It was unable to act quickly enough to stop genocide between warring nations. Serious UN peacekeeping failures and numerous warring nations were caused in part by institutional flaws. Why it was inevitable that the United Nations would fail. The fact that God did not grant man the ability or right to rule himself is one of the reasons the United Nations was destined to fail. No human-made organization, no matter how well-meaning, is unable to establish security and peace.
I well know, O Jehovah, that man's way does not belong to him. It does not belong to man who is walking even to direct his step. Jeremiah 10:23.
So far we have found historical facts reveal that the real, lasting peace will never be brought by humans. Real, lasting peace is impossible for humans to achieve. The reason for that is, despite their shared guilt for their bloody past, humans are not the only true violators of peace. The Bible describes the person who is really behind and responsible for misleading everyone on earth as none other than Satan, the devil, originator of lies.
So down the great dragon was hurled, the original serpent, the one called devil and Satan, who is misleading the entire inhabited earth. He was hurled down to the earth, and his angels were hurled down with him. Revelation 12:9.
It is not God's will for all people to be united in a safe and secure world through United Nations organization. Man cannot rule the entire world, and the UN cannot bring all people together. Because they are not united to Jehovah, the only living and true God, humanity as a whole cannot be united. God's Son, Jesus Christ, reminded us as long as Satan, the devil, rules the world there will be no peace. It is written in the Bible that a global destruction must occur before humanity can experience lasting peace. The global catastrophe that the world leaders, scientists, and others are warning about is not the same as the destruction of the world that the Bible predicts. The disaster they speak of could take the shape of a global famine, a nuclear war, a plague, pollution, or any combination of these. Bible says this catastrophe is not merely the culmination of man's timeless errors. God's war will rid the planet of those who truly deserve to be destroyed and who are to blame for the undesirable conditions on earth, as opposed to randomly killing everyone. God's war will be in harmony with the divine principle.
For only the upright will reside in the earth, and the blameless will remain in it. As for the wicked, they will be cut off from the earth and the treacherous will be torn away from it. Proverbs 2:21-22.
The harsh reality is that people would rather continue with the current system despite its shortcomings and evils than turn to righteousness and submit to divine authority. Many people refuse to look to God and His kingdom as the true source of true peace and security, in light of the world's political system's corruption and deceit, the futility of its wars, the hypocrisy of the world's religions, and the overwhelming evidence that scientific technology has created more problems than it has solved. Look at all forms of governments people has tried to bring peace. Consider all the various forms of governments that people have created, including dictatorships, city-states, monarchies, democracies, communist and socialistic regimes, and more. Have any of these forms of rules achieved peace for mankind? If man has been a failure right throughout our history, who can be the source for true peace and security? Yes. There is hope for our world to have eternal true peace and security. But the source of the world peace is not by man or man-made religions. It will be by the God's kingdom, by Christ has the right to rule mankind. The God of heaven would set up a kingdom that would never be brought to ruin. This new system, heavenly government under the control of Christ, will take the place of the egotistical, polarizing elite classes that have misruled humanity for millennia. It forms the governing part of the new heavens and a new earth.
But there are new heavens and a new earth that we are awaiting according to His promise, and in these righteousness is to dwell. 2 Peter 3:13.
Peace becomes a reality. The UN in New York, which is supported by world leaders, is not the real cradle of future world destiny, but rather God's government. Only God's kingdom, the channel designated by God, can bring about true peace.
This is the everlasting kingdom for which Jesus taught his followers to pray, "Let your kingdom come. Let your will take place, as in heaven, also upon earth." Matthew 6:9-10.
Nations' deceptive peace and false security. What does the Bible prophesy foretells concerning the talk of peace and security?
For you yourselves know very well that Jehovah's day is coming exactly as a thief in the night. Whenever it is that they are saying, "Peace and security," then sudden destruction is to be instantly on them, just like birth pains on a pregnant woman, and they will by no means escape. 1 Thessalonians 5:2-3.
In the midst of the nation's loud cry for peace and security, Jehovah's day will erupt in all its ferocity out of nowhere. It will arrive in the same manner as an unexpected robber in the night. What does the Bible foretell about the end of wicked rulers and the false religions? When the political elements turn against all false religious organizations, represented by the prostitute known as Babylon the Great Tribulation will start.
And the 10 horns that you saw and the wild beast, these will hate the prostitute and will make her devastated and naked, and they will eat up her flesh and completely burn her with fire. Revelation 17:16.
It will be a world-shaking event when Babylon the Great, represented by all false religions, is destroyed. Prophecy declares, the political powers that back the United Nations, known as the 10 Kings, will feel compelled by Jehovah to carry out his plan. The world will be taken by surprise when those countries abruptly abandon their false religion.
That is why in one day her plagues will come, death and mourning and famine, and she will be completely burned with fire, because Jehovah God, who judged her, is strong. And the kings of the earth who committed sexual immorality with her and lived with her in shameless luxury will weep and beat themselves in grief over her when they see the smoke from her burning. They will stand at a distance because of their fear of her torment and say, too bad, you great city, Babylon, you strong city, because in 1 hour your judgment has arrived." Revelation 18:8-10.
Once the false religions are destroyed by the nations, the final war of Armageddon will be fought by God. The organization of Satan the devil, which is made up of false religions, wicked nations and demons, is accountable for millennia of evil and suffering, needs to be destroyed. Armageddon will preserve Jehovah's universal sovereignty and absolve him of the stigma that has been placed on him for generations.
But the nations became wrathful, and your own wrath came, and the appointed time came for the dead to be judged and to reward your slaves the prophets and the holy ones and those fearing your name, the small and the great, and to bring to ruin those ruining the earth. Revelation 11:18.
The nations led by the devil will march against Jehovah's worshippers, peace-loving people gathered from all nations. Jehovah will intervene to defend his people from Satan or Gog's attack, and this conflict will be known as the Battle of Armageddon. The governments of humans will fall at Armageddon. Panic will spread throughout the world outside the ranks of Jehovah's Witnesses due to flooding cloudbursts, destructive hailstones, streaking fire and sulfur, and raging pestilences. Jehovah will ruthlessly destroy the enemy when their human adversaries turn their weapons against one another. Jeremiah 25:33. At Armageddon, all traces of Satan's earthly apparatus will be eliminated. The devil and his demons will be abysed.
And I saw an angel coming down out of heaven with the key of the abyss and a great chain in his hand. He seized the dragon, the original serpent, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. And he hurled him into the abyss and shut it and sealed it over him, so that he would not mislead the nations any more until the 1,000 years were ended. After this he must be released for a little while. Revelation 21:3.
Do you find it difficult to believe that the Bible events described in this video will occur? The numerous Bible prophecies that have already come to pass should give us comfort in the knowledge that there is good reasons to believe that all of the details for the future prophecies will be realized and the foretold events will occur shortly.
Now look, I am about to die, and you well know with all your heart and with all your soul that not one word out of all the good promises that Jehovah your God has spoken to you has failed. They have all come true for you. Not one word of them has failed. Joshua 23:14.
Remember, God destroyed ungodly people in the past. Your future is at stake.
And by reducing the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah to ashes, he condemned them, setting a pattern for ungodly people of things to come. 2 Peter 2:6. And he did not refrain from punishing an ancient world, but kept Noah, a preacher of righteousness, safe with 7 others when he brought a flood upon a world of ungodly people. 2 Peter 2:5.
You have the possibility to enter God's kingdom, regardless of your religion or nationality. The Bible education program offered by Jehovah's Witnesses is available online or by calling on you. We will be happy to demonstrate our free home Bible study arrangement at your place and time suitable for you. You can also learn more about the good news of the kingdom of God, and how it will eliminate the entire wicked system.
At this Peter began to speak, and he said, Now I truly understand that God is not partial, but in every nation the man who fears him and does what is right is acceptable to him. Acts 10:34-35. Learn the truth and free from her, Babylon the Great, false religious practices. Your mind is no longer constrained by illogical beliefs like the Trinity. You are no longer afraid of dying because of morbid beliefs like purgatory and eternal torment. Along with these various vain and pagan practices, you have also been freed from things like counting prayer beads and bowing before images or idols. Your fear of false religious priests who had intimidated you with their attire, titles, advanced education, and arrogant demeanor has vanished, allowing you to enjoy the freedom that is rightfully yours.
Thank you for watching. Like, comment, share. Our videos are made for religious educational purpose only.
Watch my other inspirational videos in my channel. Bible Truth sets you free.